Continuing the State of the Franchise series, we have to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you guys know how hard it is for me to talk about Jacksonville because I'm from the city of Jacksonville. Okay, I've spent the majority of my life living in Jacksonville, so I pay close attention to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jacksonville Jaguars really let me down this season. And you're probably going to ask, JT, how did the Jacksonville Jaguars let you down this year? Like, you actually had expectations for the Jaguars this season or this past season? Yes, I did. So, for those of you guys who are OG listeners of the podcast or OG subscribers to the channel, you guys may remember in the offseason, when I was doing my record predictions in early August, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars winning at least 6 games. And we all know that the Jacksonville Jaguars came nowhere close to winning 6 games. They were the worst team in the NFL. They once again have the number 1 overall pick for a second consecutive year. So, like, you bring in Doug Pederson. And was Doug Pederson even the Jaguars' preferred choice? Because, like, a week ago, it was a report that popped up on my phone that Byron Leftwich was expected to become the next head coach, and they were about to finalize the deal. And I was like, okay, Byron Leftwich going to Jacksonville, great fit. I like the move. But then reports come out that the Jaguars and Byron Leftwich are not official and that the Jacksonville Jaguars are still going over potential candidates before they make their final decision. And then a couple of days later, report comes out that Byron Leftwich has taken his name out of consideration for the Jaguars job. So it's just a bunch of stuff going on with the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of dysfunctionality. Like, Trent Blake is still the general manager in Jacksonville. Now, I like Sean Khan, but the problem with Sean Khan is that he's too patient. Now, I was surprised that Urban Meyer got up on out of there as quick as he did, but Sean Khan is a really patient owner. And, you know, to be successful in business, you gotta have patience. But at the same time, you can't hold on to something too long. Like, what's the point of having spoiled milk in your refrigerator if it's spoiled? You get what I'm saying? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. So if you know that the milk is undrinkable, why do you still have it in your refrigerator? If you know that Trent Blake isn't a great general manager, why is he still the GM for Jacksonville? And what's even more crazy is that at some point this season, you remember the Jacksonville Jaguars used a first-round pick on C.J. Henderson? He's no longer with the team. He's playing for the Carolina Panthers. And that brings up a broader complaint that I have about this franchise for Jacksonville is that they don't hold on to draft picks. Like, their first-round draft picks don't really stay on the roster for no longer than, 3 seasons? Like, how long did Jalen Ramsey stay in Jacksonville? I mean, he didn't even stay in Jacksonville for another contract. He got traded to the Rams. Leonard Fournette, traded. He was a former first-round pick. Dante Fowler, another former first-round pick by Jacksonville, traded. Like, we go through the last couple of first-round picks for Jacksonville, not too many of them stayed for another contract. A lot of them got traded, and a lot of them went separate ways. So for Jacksonville, you look at Doug Pederson, like, can he stabilize this franchise? Doug Pederson is a Super Bowl winning coach. He won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles against the New England Patriots. But there are a lot of people who tend to discredit that Super Bowl by Doug Pederson in Philadelphia because they say, well, Doug Pederson didn't really do that much to win the Super Bowl that year. That was because of Frank Reich, who was his offensive coordinator at the time. And I understand that, but at the same time, you have to give him credit for assembling the staff. Okay, and he did play a pretty big role in the game planning. Like, I find it hard to believe that the Eagles won the Super Bowl with a head coach that didn't do anything to to contribute to it. Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense how we try to discredit people because they had a certain person as an offensive coordinator or whatnot. Like, I think that Doug Pederson is a pretty solid coach, and if you're Jacksonville, this is probably what you need. You need a NFL head coach who isn't learning on the job. You need somebody who has already had proven success in the NFL, which is something that Doug Pederson has had also. So he has experience. He's not learning on the job, and he has the proven track record of success. So now, can you bring some talent in? Which you should be able to, because you are going to have a lot of cap space going in. As a matter of fact, you're going to be one of the few teams that has the most cap space going into this offseason, going into free agency. And you should be using that money really wisely because, I mean, you need help everywhere. Offensive line, tackle, guard. You got to protect your franchise quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. Okay, defense. You're still going to need some help in the secondary because that still is a big issue. You're probably going to need another pass rusher alongside the opposite side of Josh Allen because it looks like your former first-round pick is a bust in Levon Chasen. So you still need another pass rush. You need to improve the secondary. Like, the whole entire team just still needs improvement. So the draft and free agency are going to be really big for Jacksonville. They should be pretty active in free agency since they do have so much cap space to spend, or they do have so much cap space that's available to them. So they definitely should be improving those positions. But what's going to happen with DJ Chark? Like, are they going to be able to retain DJ Chark? Are they going to give DJ Chark the franchise tag? Are they going to try to come to a new deal with DJ Chark? Or are they just okay with letting DJ Chark walk away in free agency, knowing that he's their best wide receiver on the team? So if you let DJ Chark walk away, you're still going to have Marvin Jones. And then after that, things get really shaky from there. Now, you do have Laviska Shenault, who I like a lot. I think he could end up being one of the better slot receivers in the league. But you're going to have to make sure that Trevor Lawrence has time to get him the ball. So are there going to be a lot of great offensive linemen in free agency? Not really. There's going to be like a couple of big names out there, but it's not really a great free agency class when it comes to depth on the offensive line. But the Jacksonville Jaguars definitely are going to have the money to get some of the better offensive linemen available in free agency. So when you look at Jacksonville, man, like, this franchise, it's kind of hard to see this franchise having success moving forward. Now, you did hire Doug Pederson, but you got to wonder, is Doug Pederson going to be held back by Trent Blake? Like, is Trent Blake going to continue to be the incompetent general manager that he has showed to be so far during his tenure as a GM for Jacksonville? Like, this franchise is not in a good spot. And this is the most dysfunctional team in the league. And you look at Doug Pederson, like, Doug Pederson is basically being asked to save this franchise. Like, Doug Pederson has to not only stabilize this franchise, but he has to pretty much save Trevor Lawrence's career, because Trevor Lawrence didn't look good last year. As a matter of fact, you probably could say that Trevor Lawrence was even worse quarterback last year in his rookie season for the Jacksonville Jaguars than he was his whole entire time at Clemson. And it's crazy to say that. Like, it's crazy that I'm actually saying that Trevor Lawrence was a better quarterback in college than he was in the NFL. Like, if you gave the Trevor Lawrence of Clemson in his last season to Jacksonville Jaguars with a competent coach, he probably would have won the Rookie of the Year. Like, this is a really big job for Doug Pederson. Okay, because, like, he has to not only stabilize and build a winning culture in Jacksonville, but you have to save the career of the number one overall pick from last year's draft and Trevor Lawrence. Then you have to figure out who you're going to draft number one overall this year. So, like, yeah, you do have a lot of cap space to work with. Yes, you are going to have a lot of capital in the draft, but are you going to be able to handle the dysfunctionality in the front office in Jacksonville? That's my question with Doug Pederson. So you guys let me know your state of the franchise for the Jacksonville Jaguars down in the comment section down below if you're watching this on YouTube. And make sure that you check out the JT Sports Podcast. Every video that's uploaded on the channel is available in audio format on every single podcasting platform. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, the JT Sports Podcast is available.